Okay, welcome. This is adding and subtracting rational numbers number 3. We have Mrs. Price presented a problem in which the numbers 1 through 4 are each missing one time. Use the missing numbers and your understanding of adding fractions to make the equation true. So we have numbers that we can use 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we need two fractions that add up to a sum of 11 twelfths. So one thing that I do know is that we need a common denominator of 12, which all of these numbers are factored to get 12 down here, but we need a large number like 11 in our numerator. So some of this could be just some guessing and checking. I know that 1/2 is 6 twelfths. And then if I have 3/4, that's going to be way too much because that's going to be times 9 times 9. So I'm going to have to go with smaller numbers. So I'm going to try a 3 and a 4 in my denominator. So we need some thirds plus some fourths. That's going to equal 11 twelfths. And we know that 3 can go into 12 and 4 can go into 12. This would be times 3 times 4. So we need a number times 4 and a number times 3 to get us a total of an addition of 11 for our numerators. Looking at that, if we tried 1/4, then we would have 3 twelfths. And if we put our 2 here, that would give us 8 twelfths, and 8 plus 3 is 11. So sometimes it's a matter of guessing and checking. If that didn't work, I would have put the 1 here and the 3 there. But it does work. It checks out. So we're going to have 2/3 plus 1/4 equals 11 twelfths. Okay, some steps for adding and subtracting fractions is we need a least common denominator. We need to rename each fraction. So sometimes if we have a negative sign, like say negative 1/2, we can rename it by putting the negative 1 in our numerator so that we can combine it with another number. Remember that a negative sign can be in front of the fraction, in the numerator, or the denominator. But we like to try to avoid it in the denominator because of the least common denominator, and because we add numerators when we add or subtract. So let's take a look at our first math problem here. Lucky for us, we have a common denominator of 5, and both numbers are positive. So this is a regular fraction work. 3/5 plus 4/5 is altogether 7/5. And then the only other thing we have to do is this step 4, which is to regroup and simplify. So 5 goes into 7 one whole time with a remainder of 2. So our final answer simplified is 1 2/5. Okay, number 2, we have negative 5/6 plus negative 5/6. So we're going to rename that by putting our negative 5s in the numerator. We already have a common denominator. So negative 5/6 plus negative 5/6 is altogether negative 10/6. So our answer is negative. When you're adding negatives, you just have more negative. And then we're going to rename this. 6 goes into 10 one whole time with 4 remainder. But remember, when you write your answer, 4 and 6 can both be divided by 2 to simplify it further. So our answer is 1, and 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So our answer is negative 1 2/3. Okay, looking at number 3, we have two negative numbers added together. So we're going to have same signs add, and we have a whole lot more negatives. So I can even line these up vertically and just add their absolute value, and then don't forget your negative sign there. We already have a common denominator, so we have 6/4 and 1 whole. 6/4 is 1 2/4, which is 1 1/2. So altogether, we have 2 1/2. And then don't forget your negative sign because you had a negative value plus a negative value. Okay, number 4, we have negative 3/5 minus 4/5. So if I use adding the opposite rule here, we have negative 3/5 plus negative 4/5. Okay, subtracting 4/5 is the same as adding negative 4/5. Combining our numerators, when we add, negative 3/5 plus negative 4/5 is altogether negative 7/5. And then simplifying our answer, bring down that negative. 5 divided by 7 is 1, and 2 remainder. So our answer is negative 1 2/5. Okay, number 5, we have negative 5/6, and then we're going to add the opposite here. So plus negative 3/6 for a total of negative 8/6. Okay, bringing over our negative sign, 6 goes into 8 one whole time with 2 remainder, and 2/6 simplifies to dividing by 2 over 2, 1/3. So we have negative 1 1/3. And number 6, we have negative 2/3 plus, and then this was negative 1/3. So adding the opposite here would be to add a positive 1/3. And then combining our numerators, negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1/3. Okay, on the other side, we have some fraction practices without a common denominator. Feel free to pause this video and try them, and then come back to check your work. Okay, looking at number 7, we're going to have negative 1/6 with a negative 1 in the numerator, plus, and then we have 2/3 here, which we're going to get a common denominator of 6 to add. So 3 times 2 means 2 times 2. So 2/3 is 4/6. And once we do that, we end up with 3/6, which is 1/2. So our answer, number 7, is 1/2. Okay, for number 8, we have an addition problem. We're going to just move this negative to the numerator. So we have negative 5/8 plus, and now we need eighths. We know we're going to have that negative sign in the numerator. 4 times 2, so 3 times 2 is 6. So we have negative 5/8 plus negative 6/8 for a total of negative 11/8. 8 goes into 11 one whole time with 3 remainder. So our final answer is negative 1 3/8. Okay, last question here. We're going to have to add the opposite. We have negative 3/8 plus, and then the opposite of 1/2 is negative 1/2. We need a common denominator, so negative 3/8 can stay the same. 2 goes into 8, so we're going to change this to 8s. 2 times 4 is 8. 1 times 4 is 4, but don't forget that negative sign. So we have negative 3/8 plus negative 4/8 for a total of negative 7/8. Okay, then we have a word problem. We have use your understanding of rational number operations to answer the following questions. A new monument is being constructed and 3 different proposals are under consideration. So here's proposal A, B, and C, and then the height in feet. How many feet taller is A than C? So we're actually looking at the difference between A and C. So we have 15 1/3 minus 13 5/6. Okay, we're going to line up our work vertically. We need to get a common denominator here of 6 because 3 goes into 6, so that's times 2 times 2. Okay, we have 2/6 minus 5/6. If we don't have enough here to subtract, we're going to have to borrow from this whole number, the 14 part of our mixed fraction. So we have 14, and then we're going to add a whole number to this. So that's going to be like adding 6/6 to 2/6, where 6 plus 2 is 8. So we have 8 minus 5 for 3/6, and 14 minus 13 for 1, which is 1 1/2. So proposal A is 1 1/2, and our units here, feet taller. Okay, Mrs. Oliver asks 3 students to place an expression on the number line to represent the solution. So we have Judy, Rico, and Kate here with their numbers. The number line below shows 0 and negative 1/2. Determine where each student should place their solution to their expression. So once the students work that out, they'll be placing it up here. Let's take a look at our scale here. We have a 0 and 1.5 here. So if this is 1, that's 2. Negative 1 1/2 would fall right in the middle. So we can start ordering our number line and putting in our numbers here on the scale. So it looks like we're going up by 1 unit. So this will be 1 and this will be 2. Remember, to the right is in the positive direction and to the left of 0 is in the negative direction. Okay, first thing that stands out to me is Kate's value here. We have negative 1/2 plus 1/2. That opposites add up to 0. So I'll place a dot here for Kate. And the other two I'm going to have to work out. It says Judy has negative 1.5 minus 2. So we're going down 1.5 and going down 2 more. If I rewrote this, this would be negative 1.5 plus negative 2, adding the opposite. So we know negatives plus negatives is a whole lot of negative. Negative 1.5 plus negative 2 is altogether negative 3.5. So for Judy, negative 3 is right here. So negative 3.5 is halfway between that and a negative 4. So Judy is over here on our number line. And then we have Rico. This says negative 1.5 plus 4. We know different signs subtract, and we have more positives. So we're going to have 4 minus 1.5. Well, we have nothing to subtract the fractional part there, so that's going to become 3 and 2/2. 2/2 minus 1/2 is 1/2, and 3 minus 1 is 2. So looking at our scale for positive 2.5, here's positive 2, so 2.5 would be out here. So this would be Rico. Okay, last word problem. We have during a drought, the local lake was 2 1/4 feet below its normal level. 2 weeks later, the water level had dropped an additional, okay, so it's dropping again, an additional 1 3/8 feet. How far below the normal level was the water after 2 weeks? So it looks like the level's down and it's going further down. If it's a drop of 2 1/4 feet, that's going to be negative 2 1/4 feet. And a drop of 1 3/8 is going to be negative 1 3/8 feet. What do I need to know? Well, how much it changed. In other words, the total drop in 2 weeks. So we're going to have negative 2 1/4 minus 1 3/8. Same signs add, and we're going to keep that negative. So having a common denominator here, this is 2/8, negative 2 2/8 minus 1 3/8. That's altogether negative 3 5/8. So the water was 3 5/8 below. We want to use the word below because we do have negative there. Below its normal level.